Today we're going to discuss how to write a linear equation from 2 points. And these 2 points could be in the form of ordered pairs like you see on the left, or they could be in the form of a graph like you see on the right. We're going to start with the ordered pairs. So the steps, step 1 is to find the slope of the line between the given points. And step 2 is to use point slope form, and that form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And you can pick either of the 2 points to use in that point slope form. You'll get the same answer either way. Alright, so first one, I have negative 610 and negative 9.5. So I'm going to find slope first. Remember, my formula for slope, in case you forgot, I'm going to write it up here. Slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Looks like that. All right, so y2 is 5, minus y1 is 10, over x2 is negative 9, minus x1 is negative 6. So I'm going to then simplify. 5 minus 10 is negative 5. 9 minus negative 6 is negative 3. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so this is going to be 5/3. Then I'm going to use point slope form. Doesn't matter which point I pick. I tend to pick the first one unless there's a point that has some zeros in it, and that will make life a little bit easier. But in this case, neither of the points have zeros, so I'm going with the first one. So I have y minus y1 is 10 is equal to m, which is 5/3, times x minus negative 6, so that becomes x plus 6. That's your point slope form. If they asked you to put this in slope-intercept form, of course you'd distribute the 5/3, and then you would add 10 to both sides. So we can go ahead and do that. So I have y minus 10 is equal to 5/3 x plus 5 times 6 is 30 thirds. And if I simplify that, I have y minus 10 is equal to 5/3 x plus 30 thirds is 10. Adding 10 to both sides gives me y equals 5/3 x plus 20 as my final answer. So again, this right here is your point slope, and this is your slope intercept. So depending on your directions, those are 2 forms that you could write your answer in. All right, number 2, I'm going to find slope first. So y2 is negative 7 minus y1 is negative 1 over x2 is negative 6 minus x1 is negative 5. Negative 7 minus negative 1 gives me negative 6. And negative 6 minus negative 5 gives me negative 1. Negative 6 divided by negative 1 gives me a positive 1 as my slope. So point slope form is where I need to start. So I have y minus negative 1 or y plus 1. It's equal to a slope of 1 times x minus a negative 5 or x plus 5 for point slope. If I'm going to slope intercept, I'm going to distribute. So y plus 1, 1 times x is x, 1 times 5 is 5. And then I would subtract 1 from both sides to solve for y. So I get y equals x plus 4 as my slope intercept form. All right, last example with 2 points. Again, I'm going to start by finding slope. So m equals negative 4 minus negative 12 over negative 3 minus negative 14. So negative 4 minus negative 12 is the same as negative 4 plus 12, which gives me 8. Negative 3 minus negative 14 is negative 3 plus 14, which is going to be 8 over 11. So point slope form, I have y plus 12. Y minus negative 12 is y plus 12 is equal to slope of 8/11 and x plus 14. That's my point slope. And then I'm going to go through and find slope-intercept. So I have y plus 12 is equal to 8/11 x plus 8 times 14 gives me 112 over 11. Right, this cannot be simplified down, so I'm leaving that the way it is. I'll need to subtract 12 from both sides. So I'm left with y is equal to 8/11 x. And I need to put 12 into 11ths. So if I have negative 12, and I want to put that into 11ths, so I would have to multiply by 11 in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply by 11 in the numerator. 12 times 11 is negative 132. So I'm thinking about this as negative 132 over 11. So 112 minus 132 gives me negative 20 over 11 as my final answer. All right, let's try some of these that have graphs. So your steps, still the same. You're still going to find the slope of the line between the two given points. And then, again, you're still going to use point slope form. And one more time, that's y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. All right, so you can pick either of the 2 points to use, and this method is helpful in cases where you can't read the y-intercept directly from the graph. So a lot of times when you have a graph, it's definitely easier to write it in slope-intercept form to start with. But as you can see in these 2 graphs, I cannot read the y-intercept directly from the graph. So I'm going to have to pick 2 different points, and I'm going to have to use point-slope form in order to find that equation. All right, so I want to pick 2 points that are on this first graph, and I have one here, and I have one here. So I'm going to count my slope. I'm going to count the number of places that I go up. So I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I go to the right 1, 2, 3. So my slope is 8/3. I can pick either one of those points that I like. And I'm going to pick the one that's in the first quadrant because everything is positive, so it makes the math a little easier. So my point is 4, 3. So for point slope form, I have y minus 3 is equal to 8/3 times x minus 4. And then to find slope-intercept, I'm going to start by distributing 8/3. So I have 8/3 x minus 8 times 4 is 32 thirds. Right? And then to change to slope-intercept, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And that's going to give me y equals 8/3 x. And then I need to think about 3 in terms of thirds. It's going to be 9/3. So I'm going to end up with minus 23 over 9. So again, this would be a fractional y-intercept. Even if I were to carry this graph out, this would be somewhere between -2 and -3, and you would not be able to get that exact value off the graph. So that's where point slope form becomes useful. All right, example 2. Again, I'm going to pick 2 points on the graph. So I have this point right here, and I have this point right here. And then I'm going to count for my slope. So in this case, I have to go down 1, 2, 3, so -3. And then I go to the right 2, so my slope is going to be -3 over 2. So for point slope form, I'm going to use this point right here, and that guy is 5, 2. So I have y minus 2 is equal to -3/2 times x minus 5. That's my point slope form. To change the slope-intercept, I'm going to start by distributing. So I have negative 3/2 x plus minus times a minus is a positive 15/2. And then I'm going to add 2 to both sides in order to solve for y. So I have y equals negative 3/2 x. And I need to think about 2 in terms of halves. So 2 is 4/2. 15/2 plus 4/2 gives me 19/2. That's my final answer.